The whole premise of this video is this. The tiering system has screwed gear progression. Progression is fundamentally broken at the gear level. Tiers 1 through 5 have replaced common to legendary. And now we have 3 rarities that take absolutely no part in the progression system. Save for rares, they have a little part in the beginning, and then you never see them again with the current way it's set up. Commons and uncommons are entirely boring and useless for gameplay. We should throw them in there to give them a bit more recognition, but I really think they should just stay, primarily within the New Light experience for a little bit before we actually hand them rares, because they don't really even have perks, right? The perks are what make the game good. A huge part of the refresh that I'm going to be proposing here is that we give rares a little bit of love. The current system behind legendaries is way too bloated. We have 5 tiers. 5! So instead of 5 tiers of legendaries, plus the holofoils, we're going to simplify it down to just 2, with variations on one of those. My proposal is this. We bring rares up to a better level of play, all while scrapping the tiering system for a more simplified, concise, easy to understand version. Instead of tiers 1 through 5, we'll have a base tier and an enhanced tier. This will be followed up by holofoils and adepts, which are both just variations of that enhanced tier. For said variations, there will be no functional difference outside of the origin trait that will come alongside the adept and holofoil weapons. Think of this as Renegade's accelerated assault origin trait that you can get on some things, and it's become quite meta with things like Fast Talker. To start, I'm going to go more in depth on how I would change the rares in the system. If that's not your cup of tea, it doesn't really matter, because this all ultimately is about fixing legendaries. This is just kind of a cool little bonus. If you want, skip to the timestamp on screen or in the description if I'm extra lazy. It's not a requirement, but to start off this new system, you could have a reintroduction of rares. I thought maybe they should be reintroduced at a semi-viable level of play for raids, dungeons, and some PvP. For my proposal for rares, it's just that. It's just that they refresh them more often, right? We need more rares with newer perks, and I honestly think every time new perks are introduced within the seasonal model, rares should reflect that. If they really feel like it too, they could also make it so rares have some sort of randomness to them, whether it's just like a random barrel or something. This wouldn't prevent them from being able to be pulled from collections, because that would be stupid, and if they implement that, they're stupid. For all the new weapons we get with each seasonal drop, whether it even be Ashen Iron or something like Heresy, Arrivals, there are so many perks that come with every season. Every 3 months we get a refresh. Those all have a bunch of new perks on it. There should be some rare weapons to represent that. But yeah, it wouldn't be much, right? They just make them more interesting for the time we're using them. Make me actually want to stick with a rare for a bit until I get an equivalent of a better legendary. I feel that there's a certain point where rares should be better than the absolute worst of the worst legendaries. This is even more so of an issue nowadays, simply because of the fact that we have account-based leveling, and you don't need certain things equipped to get higher power, right? Go back to D1. This is just to drive an incentive to make players want to actually use the rares they have. If I'm holding a rare gauntlet that I'm only going to keep until I get a higher rare gauntlet, then I'm not going to use until I get a tier 5, what is the point of me getting those gauntlets? The power progression should not just be a number, there should be substance to it. All they gotta do is give new rares new perks, and make sure the perks don't actually suck, so that I'll actually want to use the rare up until the point where I get a legendary with that same perk on it. The whole point is to just drive an incentive to use rares, because there is not a reason to use 99% of rares. The only rare that ever got used was that one Hunter Gauntlet that would drop really stupid high before they changed the system up. And rares should be able to use weapon mods. This excludes the enhanced weapon mods, the adept weapon mods, which are kind of like equivalents at this point, and the volatile weapon mods. But other than that, they should be like, why can't I put backup mag on my ballyhoo? I don't know. That always came across like weird to me. So the inclusion of these rares is honestly optional. It's not entirely required. It would just be a nice little refresh for people who are dealing with rares, whether we get another power reset or whatever, at least you get to mess with some new perks, because you're getting some new rares to drop for a little bit. Now, on to the legendaries. This is where I'm going to get deep and annoy some people, and also, I mean, make some of you want to actually play the game again. We'll see, who knows. Alright, so I have two different types of legendaries that I went over earlier. The base legendaries and the enhanced legendaries. The names can obviously be changed to Tier 1, Tier 2, Tiered, Starred, you know, Fortnite Battle Pass Tier 1 and Fortnite Battle Pass Tier 100. I don't care. Call them what you want. The first of the two types of legendary weapons that we'll have in this new system to replace the tiered weapons, right, the tiers 1 through 4 are going to be smushed into one type of weapon, aka it's just think of it like as a Red of a 9 weapon. It's just going to be a Tier 1 with extra perks. It's going to be functionally the same as a Tier 1 weapon with 2 rows of perks. That is it. Now, Ascendant Alloys are completely useless. I want to reintroduce them. If the player would like, they can use one to enhance all of the perks in a singular column. Because remember, Tier 1s aren't enhanced. And they're not supposed to be enhanced, but this is for those of you that get a good gun that you just can't get enhanced. You can't get the enhanced variant, so if you get a base legendary weapon variant, you can spend your alloys because you're not using them on anything else anyway. These weapons, when fully enhanced, if you enhance every column, we'll talk about this more in the future, if you enhance every column, they will not come with what is currently the Tier 5 ornament, and while you're in progress of grinding these out as your main source of power, you could pull a holofoil. However, it won't be of this tier. Every holofoil is guaranteed to be an enhanced weapon with the extra origin trait that makes them so special now in Renegades. Moving on, what is now the replacement for Tier 4s and 5s, a little bit, mostly Tier 5s, the enhanced legendary weapons. This is what you're going to be cutting the bloat out of, so you don't have all the other guns that are enhanced from Tier 2 to 5, because who the frick thought that was a good idea? Enhanced weapons will have 3 rows, and will all already be enhanced. It does not come with the origin trait, and it'll have the ornament for being a Tier 5, or an enhanced, or whatever that terminology might change to in the future. Moving on to Adept Weapons. So, these will functionally be identical to a holofoil. They will have full masterwork and the origin trait. They are essentially the equivalent to a holofoil in a different way. So whereas these are attained through complete and utter skill, the holofoils are attained through luck. That means there are no holofoils for the Adept Weapons. If players do want that grind back, they can be added. Adept Weapons will only drop from pinnacle activities and have the integrity restored. That means that these weapons only drop from 5 to 7 streak flawless cards and trials, Grandmaster alerts, cutthroat combat, or whatever the hard mode rated dungeon content is, being over Ascendant 3 in comp and getting those wins, and the seasonal ultimate conquests, which I assume will be the same as the Vanguard alerts that they could also drop from. For most of these, if not all of them, a drop will be guaranteed, at least on the first run of the week. Alright, I'm going to throw up on screen what I wrote down for the drop chances and the progression that might be happening within the portal if you're playing alone and just grinding this out. Obviously, if you're with another fire team and you're doing a raid, you're going to get these weapons before this progression says you should, and that's okay. Alright, I don't care. Doesn't matter. Truly, if it were up to me, the portal would be completely reworked or gutted, and we would just be able to get the higher tier stuff through harder content. I don't want players to just earn the enhanced weapons willy-nilly. I want it to be something hard, but everything we have now is already fully enhanced because Tier 5s drop like candy. So there's not really much we can do, unless they just, like, you know, backpedal everything, or something. I don't even know. I don't know. There's not much you can do at this point, so honestly, what I got here I think is fine as just a portal insertion, just to cut the bloat out of loot. Right, this isn't going to fix getting the loot, other than adding the adepts. That is it. For those of you who want more of a grind that separates weapon tiers, I had it. I cut it, and I thought it was a bit kind of redundant and a little annoying, but it was there. So originally, you had to actually, in this new system, progress through your enhanced perks. So that means your perk, even though you have the enhancement for it, doesn't work as an enhanced perk unless you use it enough to the point where you progress the enhancement to 100. Think D1 perk leveling. It wouldn't be nearly as bad. you know, the progression would be faster, and you'd already have the perk available. It just wouldn't be enhanced until you used it. But that would also lock the tier 5 ornament behind masterworking the weapon, which would now be done through progressing the enhancement on every single part of your gun, which would make each gun a grind, which I would love. That'd be so cool. I don't know if I would implement it correctly, because that is mildly annoying, but it would also give extra reason to go for your trophy adepts and your holofoils. Holofoils would come with random progression already unlocked, and adept weapons would come with everything unlocked. Adept weapons would just be done. No grind required, because why would you grind even more on the adept weapon that you just got from an activity that was worthy of dropping an adept weapon? You already put the work in. Get your money, get your bag, right? So this, I mean, this, I honestly would like the system to be implemented personally. It's a bit kind of redundant, and the whole point of this was to, you know, reduce redundancy. But at the same time, I do think it's a pretty cool concept that they could fumble with. But knowing them, it would ruin the game. And knowing me, I'm the only one who actually would ever like this idea. So, you know, just some food for thought. Hype the video, sub like and like, subscribe, and rate 5 stars, and also, for some reason, if this takes off, I will be changing my name soon. I just don't know what. Okay, I'm sorry. It wasn't meant to stick this long.
Never cease to amaze, you know? Thanks for the hard work.